Okay, what does Deadpool, PewDiePie, Suicide Squad, Terran Residence, Attack on Titan, South Park, and Winnie the Pooh have in common? That's right, you guessed it, China has banned it. I remember at a pit stop in China, the border agent looked at my passport. A real austere guy stared at it with some terrifying intensity, and then suddenly he laughed. I've forgotten that I put a sticker on the back from a cartoon a friend made. Luckily, that specific cartoon wasn't on the blacklist, but that was a moment of tension, waiting for a stranger to decide if you are actually allowed in. Alright, here's another test. What does Three Idiots, Kung Fu Panda, and CoCo have in common? That's right, these are all films that have been able to get past the Chinese censors. CoCo's a rarity because the CCP made an exception despite the skeletons. They notably have banned things like Fortnite, supposedly due to the skeletal skins. What I like about CoCo is that it really evokes the horror of being an immigrant. Notably, it has a border. It has a line of rejection. We see the bridge, the golden marigold path, and it's gorgeous. But those without a photo on the ofrenda, the bridge is but a wall. There's this weird second death that if you're forgotten, that you vanish, and that you can't even, before that, cross the bridge to visit. As you know, China and a lot of Asian countries, they have a huge focus on ancestral worship. So much so, if you betray the country, there's these anecdotal stories of these two statues in China where people piss and pee and spit, did I already say pee, on these statues that were supposedly traitors ages ago. What makes CoCo interesting is that there's a sense of bureaucracy. Has a border, has a rejection line, but the scary part about not being able to pass on, has this immigration horror where you can't move forward unless you're approved. This idea of sponsorship to get to a new land is something that is kind of scary. Now, the other thing that I suppose has a sense of horror but is handled, with, I guess, joy, is this idea of a final immigration, where we are all strangers in this land. So we cross over into another place and we end up hopefully not being rejected at the gate. In a lot of traditional theology, hell is often depicted as fire and brimstone. But hyper-realistic horror of hell isn't heat, it's really isolation. It's idea of total separation from connection. There's this theory in biblical circles that there's this idea of faith, hope, and love. But at the end, the only thing that will remain is love. The true horror of CoCo isn't necessarily the skeletons or the spirits, and of course, it's not even seen that way. It's the realization that we are all just one forgotten memory away from being an unwanted soul in a land that you are unfamiliar with, but happen to be filled with hope. But oftentimes, it's just getting there that's scary.